What is happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Sports Card CEO, the official collectibles podcast of just baseball.
Did he get another one? Oh! Gallo's on his way back. He got it! Santa Maria! Lindor again!
There it is! He did it! A 40-70 season, and a season unlike any other in Major League Baseball history for Ronald Acuna Jr.
There's a drive to right, off the bat of Evan Carter, and what a postseason he is having.
He hits this one hard. He hits it a mile to left. Mike Trout has ripped a home run.
What's up, guys? This is Mike Trout, and you're listening to Sports Card CEO with Kern, Bubba, and Ham.
The boys are in the house, minus a few technical difficulties. We have a new recording software today after messing with our old one for a moment. So we are all on edge and pissy and just ready to go.
This is a true statement, though, boys. That was rough. 11 o'clock start. We're at noon, but we made it.
Good to go, boys. Well, it is always a good day when we're together, despite technical difficulties. And we are diving back into a fun episode today. Today's episode is going to be a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a little bit of recap on season 1 of the Sports Card CEO. This will be our 44th episode launching live. And it's pretty impressive, boys. 44 weeks in a row without missing a beat. I got to say, if we had an applause of ourselves, that's pretty impressive.
We did it.
That's pretty impressive. 44 weeks in a row. I can't, outside of bodily functions, there isn't anything I've done 44 weeks in a row over the last 44 weeks than hang out with you clowns. So, let's all consider ourselves honored here.
I mean, a commitment to task here, right?
That's
like
right.
when we first started this thing, it was like the biggest thing and the biggest commitment we all made to each other was like, we have to do this every week. Like we have to stay committed.
Well, in consistent fashion, we do this roundtable starting off the show. So Kern, you are on my left, which is normally how I start this whole thing. So we'll go Kern, Bubba, and then Ham will close it out on our little weekly CEO roundtable. What you got, bub?
And card perspective, I have been doing some buying. I got the Ilian Pena Superfractor. My guy. Tony was my guy. It's a little blue chip reference for those of you that don't know.
Blue chip, baby.
Yeah. I got some other good stuff. I find the QC to be pretty tough on these. The centering is not the best. The back corner issue is the same kind of issue here, which brings the question of which we might get into a little later, of which cards to grade, which not to.
Do we even bother grading anymore?
Yeah, is it even worth grading 9s anymore? It's a legitimate question here. It shouldn't be, but it is. Other than that, I'm keeping real busy at work. Had a really fun-filled weekend of activities all throughout the weekend. It was nonstop. So I didn't, the card stuff on the weekends for me tends to just it's not really happening these days.
Fun-filled like pumpkin farms? Like, what did you do?
Yeah, like pumpkin.
They don't have
picking.
pumpkin
No,
farms.
that's why I said that.
We have farms. We went out to the Hamptons on Sunday for the day. Left real early in the morning. Went to a farm and do a corn maze and did some apple picking amongst some other things.
Like pick up
And
an
we
apple
got
out of a bucket or like off of an actual tree?
off of a tree.
They have apple trees on the Hamptons? Look at this. I didn't know that.
There's apple trees.
Learn
Yes.
something new every
You're a
day.
man of you're a man of so many layers, man. You're just
Yeah.
peeling back layers. I didn't even know you knew what corn was.
Oh man, I had some sweet corn last night that my wife cooked. It was delicious.
You cook
Delicious.
sweet corn in New York?
Well, no, it was corn that was just sweet.
Because it was cooked by his wife. It was extra sweet.
Yes. But yeah, fun-filled day. Got back at like 10 p.m. on Sunday night. Second we get back, I carry my middle son into the, he fell asleep in the car. I carry him into the apartment and blah, all over the place.
Fun.
Crap. So that's been my weekend and my week. Nothing too exciting. How about you?
Yeah, no, nothing exciting on the card front at all. Finishing up the baseball season. The grind is over for my kids in youth sports, which is a big relief. We have just been going pretty much, 44 weeks in a row since the show started, I'm pretty sure. So the next 8 weeks kind of signify the downtime for me, which I'm looking forward to. You can actually see, if you can tell in my background here, I'm in a new location. If you're watching this live, I've been spending the majority of my time on my downtime trying to finish this new house down here. We're going to finish this week, and going to celebrate that this weekend. That's it's been the main focus for me. Outside of obviously on the baseball side, I haven't been buying a ton of cards, but obviously been keeping track of what's going on in the World Series. I'm sorry, boys. I'm laying on like 4 hours of sleep last night. I'm already expecting the World Series. What happened in the ALCS and what happened in the NLCS? The NLCS feels like 2 weeks ago with Shohei just
Boring.
taking care of the Brewers by himself, pretty much. But then last night, man, we'll have to talk about the obvious last night.
Yeah.
They had it in the bag. The Mariners had it in the bag. They got the guy that can come in and get 4 outs, and they don't do it.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be a huge topic, I'm sure, of conversation here. But I will say this just to kind of have another conversation after, and we can hit this after Ham. You talk about your week, but Shohei, I didn't think he could go that much higher. I mean, when you start getting people outside of the space that are baseball fans that are talking about somebody, you know somebody's going meteoric, and that's happening right now with Shohei. People that don't even watch the game are like, that Shohei guy, I can't believe he hit 3 bombs and he struck everybody out. I mean, so that's huge. His card values are going beyond the moon. So just good to see for the hobby.
Yeah, Gary, you really have been MIA. Like we usually talk on a daily basis. We don't even talk on a weekly basis about cards right now.
I was going to say that. So we're kind of jumping ahead to like our like weekly discussion about like what are some things we could do better on the show. Like, Kern and I got to get synced back up. I just feel like both of us have been off our games a little
We'll
bit
get there. We'll get
on
there.
Bowman. But I think it's good. I think when we talk about that as far as next year, just like a baseball player that's just played 162 games, you're wore out. The way we just ran the last 44 weeks in Bowman, dude, we went nonstop. So I think you got to kind of have this little bit of a dead time to be able to come back and really want to do it again hard next spring.
We'll dive into that a little later in the episode. Matt, what's up with you?
You got to recoup. Yeah, along the same lines, I'm tired, boys. I told my wife the other day, I was like, I'm tired of being tired. Like I hit like 2:00 in the afternoon and I'm like, dude, I'm toast right now. Like I just, I was joking with my buddy Matt Ray last night at our Bible study. I said, man, if I get 5 minutes of reprieve at like a stoplight, I'm like, where are we? Where are we? What are we doing? Because it's just nonstop, man. Matthew and I were in the car on the way to school this morning, and we were talking about like our routine of getting our 5 kids out the door to school each day. And I told him, I was like, I don't think you understand the amount of emotional energy it takes just to get you out the door to school. Because you've got like, where's my lunch? What's wrong? I don't want this. I don't want. And I'm like, good. It's just like my brain just starts to melt into this place of like, I'm just going to stay right here and I'm just going to manage my own self and not get bent out of shape. And I'm going to stay right here. So yeah, just tired, man. Coming off of a double pneumonia thing with our twins. As I mentioned on last episode, they're better now. They played a little baseball this weekend, so that was good. But we're in a really unique spot, man. Like, the kids are kind of trying to figure out, do they want to keep with the travel sport thing and what do they want to press into? And Matthew's got high school basketball workouts and he's, it's tough and he's trying to figure that out, so we're doing a lot of kind of like hands-on with the kids, just trying to figure out like this new season of life as we've graduated from like youth sports and this kind of thing and moving into more of the high school and kind of like, hey, before you know it, man, we're going to be trying to figure out college. Do you do that? Where do you do that? What do you want to do? So just a lot of big kind of like personal things with my wife and I. We've been navigating that. Agencies continuing to grow. Airly Oak, we're 18 months open right now and trying to hire. That's been really hard. We've been trying to bring on some salespeople and have struggled trying to find good quality folks that want to dive in and build a book of business. And so that's been, a little bit challenging, but things are continuing to go well. On the card front, we had a really good show in Charlotte and then bounced back from that. And little Matt picked up a really nice lot of some Tom Brady's. And speaking of Shohei, this will segue us into our little moment here talking about it. Of course, I think I put it away. Anyway, here it is. He just bought this weekend. It's a gold Shohei Bowman, but from the national packs, right? And it's one of those cards. It's a number to 50 Shohei rookie, non-pack pulled, but pulled from the national packs. And he picked that up in a lot. So right now, man, we've been buying Brady, Jordan, Shohei, kind of sticking to GOAT stuff. And he's done well there. So here's an interesting factoid on the whole Shohei conversation, boys. How many copies of the 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle do you think are graded? This is the most iconic baseball card by most people's.
Total in population, BGS, PSA, SGC, everybody.
Correct. Number of graded copies of the 52 Topps Mantle.
I don't even know where to begin.
900.
900?
I'm going to guess 2,300.
2,900 graded copies exist of the Mantle 52 Topps, arguably the iconic vintage baseball card and the card that everybody compares all other cards to, right?
Mm-hmm.
That card in an SGC 9.5 had set the previous record for highest sale, right? That card in a PSA 1 still does around 25K. Even 30K based on eye appeal or whatever. Now let's go to the Shohei Ohtani Bowman Chrome rookie autograph, non-paralleled. So this is the base. You know what I'm talking about, right? The 2018 Shohei.
Batting.
There's a batting and a pitching. Okay. How many copies do you think exist graded of the pitching of that card?
585.
Kern, I'll give you a guess on the batting. It's lower.
840. Oh, it's lower? Okay. 375.
Pretty close. 387. So if you run the numbers on just the base auto against the Mantle, okay, you're talking about 900 copies of Shohei cards that exist compared to 2,900 of Mantle. So when you start talking about market cap and how much market cap is out there to support, right? Now, then you start to add in the other Shohei dynamics, right? So you've got the blue parallel, of course, you've got the orange parallel, you've got the red parallel, and then there is a super of each. And then there's like the green, there is the atomic, I think they call it, numbered to 50. Right?
100.
You say?
Atomic is to 100.
Yeah. So my point being is
Purple.
if you totaled up all of those cards, because I mean the oranges are limited, the golds are limited. I just looked up the blue batting. The blue batting only has 177. And that's total graded.
Which is funny because it's 100 out of 150, so
if
it's a
you
bunch of
just
resubs.
assumed 150, there's 300 more. Then 50 on the golds, there's 100 more. Then 20, you know what I'm saying? If you did the math on this, the number of available Shohei Bowman rookie autos is almost identical to, or even slightly less than, the number of Mantle rookies that exist.
Graded, yeah.
Isn't that pretty fascinating?
Well, I think it's extremely fascinating, and I think it points to where it sits right now. If you could just buy an auto and put it away, that's a cool card to put in the safe and just say, hey, I have exposure to this guy forever. And somebody asked that question today, I know, on the show about how do you look at this as a Bowman in 10, 20, 30 years as an asset class? Well, Shohei's its own asset class in my mind right now. I don't know how y'all feel.
Well, this is an interesting conversation when you get into Shohei, because not only does Shohei have these Bowman cards that we've been talking about, but then when you add in the Topps Chrome autographs, the fact that he autographed so many other cards and other times or whatever, again, just I'm like, then on top of these autos, there's also the non-auto parallels. You see what I'm saying? So like if a Mantle PSA 1 of the 52 Topps is doing 25K, you know what I mean? But then you've got this batting Shohei Ohtani, not the refractor, just the base chrome. Dude, that card in a PSA 10 is doing $3,500. It starts to kind of make me go, ooh, there are certain aspects of Shohei's rookie market that I would stay away from. But when you get into the autographs and then the parallels, they actually seem cheap if you're contrasting them against Mantle.
I just love how you called it a parallel.
Parallel. What do you call it?
Parallel.
Parallel. I put the emphasis on the back
Hey,
end.
I love it. I love it.
Well, I think it brings up the idea overall in my head here that why would you even buy a non-auto of a card like that? Like, I mean, even if it's the best non-auto, maybe a superfractor, but and it kind of is the way we're currently buying Bowman. We're generally not buying Bowman first that don't have autographs, because the autograph, in my opinion, you could give me a red non-auto and then go give me a $499. I'm taking the $499 auto. I don't know about y'all, but that's the way I look at it. The auto is going to be superior forever. And then if you have it in a 10, it's a 10 forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, give me the 499 10 any day of the week.
What fascinates me about the Shohei market, I've kind of like, I recently just agreed to a purchase Shohei card. That's actually, it's an autographed rookie and it's a pop one, which is why I chose to buy it and had the opportunity to buy it. It wasn't public or anything. It was a private deal. But so I'd been doing a lot of research on Shohei's market. I mean, it's practically 2x'd since that game. It's like a different market since that game. And one of the things I found a couple things fascinating in looking at it. And I know we primarily discussed Bowman, but I was also looking into his Topps Chrome. And Matt, you and I were talking about this briefly yesterday. His Topps Chrome rookie autos, it seems to have a ceiling. They have a ceiling to them, right? Like unlike Bowman, where they don't have a ceiling. I don't think the Topps Chrome colors have the same, they don't have the same, what do you call it? Multipliers that Bowman do.
Yeah.
And I was trying to understand why, and I still don't know the answer. Like the difference between a blue and a gold is not 2x. It's much smaller than that. And I just don't understand why. And the other thing with Shohei cards, I noticed like the difference between 9 and 10s is substantial, more so than I've seen ever before.
Well, I think it goes back to what this topic we've talked about on the show so many times. Why are a lot of things in the hobby the way that they are? Yeah. For example, I think the reason it is when somebody kind of creates this rule, the way that I learned multipliers is probably the same way I assume you guys learned them. Somebody else told me about it when I first kind of got into the space. And so I've just kind of taken it and ran with it. And then I found my own versions of it and varieties of it. But you look at that in national treasures in football. It never made sense to me why national treasures out of 25 were going for less than a 99. And they're both national treasures. Well, it's like, well, this one's a purple. Well, it's a purple out of 49 or whatever. Why is it not worth more than out of 99?
I guess same reason why some people would value a 499 Bowman auto higher than a purple 250.
Yeah. I mean, these are substantial, though. I know you don't really go into National Treasure world, but I would say National Treasures football 99, they call that the true, is probably 3 times more expensive on the norm than the other. I mean, 3 times. It's crazy. And I've just never understood that. And I think it goes back to, I think some of these rules are going to change. We talked about like the prices of raw compared to BGS 9 and PSA 9. I think these rules are going to continue to change big time in the next year or two. I really do.
Well, ultimately what drives any value is scarcity. Like supply and demand is a real thing, right? And so ultimately, that's what's going to drive this rarity. And that's where I'm sitting here looking at this Shohei stuff and I'm going, man, we sold one of the batting Shoheis in a 9.5, 2 years ago. And we sold it for $11K. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, dude, like we killed that. There's no other base Bowman autos anywhere close to that. This is the peak. That same card's doing $30K right now.
Yeah, I did the same thing this time last year. Sold my blue pitching 9.5 for $18,000. I was into it for $12,000.
Yep.
I was like, oh, that's the peak.
Yep. It's doing 50.
I would die to have that back.
Dude, I sold that gold for $225,000. Yep. It's probably worth $500,000.
It easily is. And it's crazy because, you look back and you go, shoulda, woulda, coulda, whatever. But at the same time, it's like, man, it's really difficult. What I have seen most recently, though, is there's a lot more Shoheis that are coming on the market. There are people right now who are going, dude, I can't sit on this base auto at $3K. Like I bought this thing for $8K. Like I've got to, you know what I mean? So it's very interesting to me that you're seeing this kind of flood of his stuff on the market right now. But the interesting thing about Shohei that we've not seen since Michael Jordan is he is an international in-demand athlete. Right? Like, Jordan had that kind of swag overseas. I don't think we've seen that since Jordan with any athlete. Not to that degree.
Especially in Major League Baseball for the most part, because NBA is an international.
Yeah, you get like, Kobe or whatever, Curry or LeBron, but not like this, man. I mean, like, not like this.
I'd bet on all the Shohei, bet a lot of money on this. I'd put the odds on this at as close as I could put to 100%. That the prices where they sit today before his career's over, there will be a substantial drop from where that's at. And then they will go back up and hit these levels again and go higher. So if someone's saying, hey, I want to buy and hold, I don't think you're stupid for buying and holding, because I think in the long term, if you're a long-term holder of him, I think you're going to be okay. Because if you go back to your point, Ham, it's a great long-term investment. But if you're worried about the short term and this is short-term money and you're buying it going, hey, I'm going to flip this, flipping it right now is a hot potato. I really, really, really think you saw with, I've seen it with Judge. I've seen it with all these guys before. This market is like this. This wave is always there. And Shohei's one hell of a player. He's obviously going to be a legend in Major League Baseball, but his prices will go down.
I think what I find a lot of the big Shohei collectors that own big Shohei cards during a time like this, I mean, a lot of them are not necessarily looking to sell them. They're looking to trade up to better copies and get into bigger Shoheis because of that fluctuation. And when that rises, they can get the value is now substantially higher than when they got into that card, and it's the opportunity to trade up, especially when they have quantity. So a lot of Shohei guys I've talked to don't necessarily want to sell them. They want to trade up for more Shohei, for bigger Shohei.
Well, here's an interesting concept. And Kern, you and I have talked about this before, and we've had deep conversations about this in the past. It's one of the first guys, though, that I would really consider to do this with. When you talk about asset classes as a retirement investment, to answer our listener's question, if there was a Shohei fund that went and bought all these Shoheis right now, and you controlled the mass majority of the Shohei market over the next 50 years, you would make a tremendous amount of money. If someone had the money to say, hey, I got $500 million and I'm going to own the Shohei market, and they owned all the rarest, the best, and they held it and they held it and they held it and they held it, I think it would be one heck of a return in the future, in my opinion.
I think you just gave Kevin O'Leary at Secure.
I mean, that'd be a smart one if he took it.
They might.
Well, I think that's what you're going to see next, because, I mean, obviously with what O'Leary and those guys have done, they've gone after the international hype, the Jordans, the Kobes, the patches, the one-on-ones, whatever. You know, Shohei has to be in that conversation. And it's interesting, man. Like, I can't think, I mean, again, prime Trout, like Trout's first 5 years, right, are similar to what you're seeing from Shohei over the last, 5. Just a level of dominance and performance that is just unmatched. Shohei being different, that he's doing it on both sides of the field. But you got to go back to Bonds, right? And you look at prime Bonds and what prime Bonds did. And then Bonds is in a unique kind of asterisk beside his name because of, the whole steroid area and the fallout there. Like, I mean, you have to recognize what you're actually watching. That's what I told my boys the other night. I said, boys, like, I'm going to just tell you right now, you just witnessed legitimate history in baseball that I doubt you will ever see again. So just take a picture and take a snapshot. And then, of course, what the market's done, on the back end. But we could talk about that for forever. You guys have any more thoughts on the Shohei thing? I think it's interesting, but I don't want to just beat the whole conversation.
I do want to end the last thing with scarcity, because I think we could almost call the title of this episode so far scarcity. I think that, and we've been talking about this, we've seen it with the supers. We've seen supers go into new realms on pricing, not to where people that are online think that they are. These guys in the chats that want to go on there and say, this card's worth $20,000 for a mid-level prospect. Get real. It's worth $20,000 when someone pays $20,000. That's not reality. But there's no doubt about it. Supers, reds, oranges, in my opinion, when you own those cards and you own the majority of those, that is the scarcity. I've seen it with reds more this year than I ever have. If you own reds when a guy goes off, Trey Savage, Mizorowski, any of those, people are going to pay out the nose. That goes out the window with any kind of multiplier. It doesn't matter what the multiplier is if you own the scarce cards in that right moment. And I look back in time at my own biggest mistakes was I bought the right guys, Bobby Witt. I bought the right guys, Aaron Judge. I bought the right guys, and I bought a lot of them. I owned the own game plan that we're talking about for Kevin O'Leary, and I didn't have the cojones to hold him long enough until I got to the right moment. For a guy like Connor we've been talking about. It really is like it's like the stock market. It's been going up, baby. Everybody's dancing. It's good. Life's good, baby. 401k's good, honey. We're good. We're retiring to the Bahamas. It's a bad week in the market. Everybody's selling off. Oh my gosh, we're done, baby. We're done. To me, that's where we're at with cards, and it's hard sometimes to not listen to the noise. But when you have that belief in that player and that conviction, we talk about asset classes. Look at the player and look at the type of card you're buying. Bowman is king. And if you're buying Bowman, which is the king, and you're buying the player that's the king, you're going to win.
Yeah. So that is a fantastic segue. Thank you, Gary, into the opportunity we have here to reflect on, 43 episodes of the Sports Card CEO. As we said, we started this as three buddies who had gotten to know each other in the hobby, liked similar things in kind of the high end market, and we decided to put this podcast together just to put out content that we felt like would be useful and helpful, and would love to hear your thoughts on what you guys think in the last 43 episodes we've done well. What do you think we could improve upon? And then what would you say are our top moments, like favorite moments for you guys? So again, any business has to have a moment where you reflect and look back, kind of a boardroom moment. So I wanted to have a little CEO podcast boardroom moment where we look back on, what we've done well. So Kern, what would you say is one thing you think we've done well on the podcast?
I think we've done a good job. I like to think we've done a good job at guiding our listeners of when to sell versus when to hold, when to recognize that it's time. I'd like to think we did a good job at that, as well as educating them on risk reward. Is the risk worth the reward? And I'm not talking specifically to like specific players, but just in general of how to think about the market. Red being a scarce out of 5 auto, just recognizing that something like that might not come up again. And if you're feeling conviction, you go. But staying away from something that these different colored parallels that aren't going to have long-term value. Just the idea of finding where there is value and when to capitalize on that. I think we've done a pretty good job.
All right. Bubba.
I think we did the number one thing that I wanted when we first originally started this thing. When Kern and then Ham, when we talked about doing this, I can't do anything in my life and do it well if I don't believe in something. Okay, that's number one for me. And I can't do anything in my life well if I'm not myself. And I feel like the number one thing that we've done well is we've been authentic. There is the temptation when you get on a show like this and you start getting people watching what you're saying and listening to what you're saying, want to hear what you're saying, to not be yourself. And we have showed up 44 weeks and held very little back. I mean, I've probably held 5% of my cards back. If I've got 100% of the cards right here, I've held 5% of them back. And so I don't know if I've been right all the time or wrong all the time, but I know you guys have been the same way. We've laid it out there as far as who we are, what we are. And to be honest, it's probably cost us money at times. It's probably cost us deals at times. I don't care. And when I look at season 2, we're going to keep being who we are.
Love it. So what have we done well? One of the things that I think is important, which we had these tenets, right? Authenticity being one of them, education being one of them, right? And the other thing is entertainment, right? Entertainment being one of them. And I think we've brought a good level of that to the show with our different personalities and kind of cutting up and the humor here and there, but also to entertainment from the perspective of the interviews we've done. Like I look back on this episode or this season, excuse me, the highlights, of course, interviewing Mike Mahan, right, at the Cards HQ ahead of the All-Star game, like in that studio, like that was a moment for me. It was like that was super cool. And then of course, Trout chilling on the back of Trump National, whatever. Like we've had that high level, but also too, I looked at having Blez, on the backer on, having Mike Mayer from exploring the breaking side of the hobby and exploring the repack side of the hobby and that kind. Then we also have had the player stuff with Sakura and Evan Carter and, Rhett Lauder and Connor and Cags. I mean, it's like, man, this has been a perfect mix of bringing athletes on and bringing hobby, type people on, and then bring in, collectors on, like Nick Tucker, who's been around a good bit. And then also the educational piece of bringing Aram on. So I look at that and I say, you know what, guys, if we brought education, we brought authenticity, and also too, something else we've done well is we've brought some entertainment, to the space. And I think that that's been super, super helpful. So that was kind of the done well thing. The second question I had for you guys is, what do you think we haven't done well? Something we could improve upon? And we're asking this to our listeners as well, too. We'd love the feedback. So
What we could do better, I think, really comes down to what our listeners think. And every listener is different. And some people love the interviews with players and some people don't like them. Some people love having Arm on and having that perspective. Some people don't like it. Some people just like hearing us talk about stuff like this and life. And, but I think the majority of people that listen to us are listening because we're relatable. We enjoy the same hobby, and Bowman specifically within that hobby. And that a lot of you are married with children and can relate, a similar age group. I think from what we can improve on, or what I'd like to improve on, is trying to relate from a card perspective in terms of, the person that's not collecting oranges or reds or supers,
values,
speaking their language in, when we talk about our strategy. And we do incorporate that a lot of times but I'd like to be more aware and cognizant of that when speaking about my dealings and sharing my stories in how that can relate to somebody buying base autos or just, non-auto refractors and colors and things like that, and speaking that person's language. But again, I think it all comes down to, I would like more feedback from each and every one of you. You can always feel free to email us or DM us if we don't get back to you. Sometimes it's hidden in requests, but we want your feedback on what works. And again, I realize that everything is going to be different based on who the listener is. And some people are not going to like more of that and less of this, and so on.
Yeah. Well, and again, my point for saying that is not to be critical at all. Like I would say, over the moon with how the first season has gone, like completely blown away that we've gotten to do this at this level. So that's not a critique. It's just an interesting kind of segue into kind of saying, all right, what could we think about here?
Well, there was a nugget there that I want to hit on, because what's cool about this is, as we do this show, is that we all have kids, and one day we may even be dead and gone, and the internet stays there, right? And this stuff is there. And so this is kind of a nugget for not only my own kids and y'all's kids, but there's a reason that the three of us get along so well, right? And while we can ham and egg it, you get that? Ham and egg it, is what you said earlier, Kern. You nailed it. We are hard on ourselves. We are our own judge on this stuff a lot of times. There's been so many episodes we've talked after it. I've been like, man, I don't know if that one was good or you felt that way. But I think in the end of the day, whether it be cards, whether it be business, whether it be life in general, when you're pushing yourself and you are driven and you wake up every day, I wake up most days and I'm challenging myself. I'm looking at, man, dude, you could do this better. Man, you could do that better. And there is this balancing act, and I think that's the mental side, the fatigue we talk about. If you do that 52 weeks of the year for 10 straight years, you're going to wear yourself down. And you've got to have those own moments like this to say, man, look at what you did do. And generally what I would do in the business world for myself is right about the time we had our Christmas party every single year at our company, we were giving out bonuses. People were going to be gone for a couple weeks from work. I would literally sit there and just reflect. It was the only time I allowed myself in my business world to look back and just celebrate what I had just done. And I feel like that's what I need to be doing with cards for this last year, because in this show, frankly.
Yeah. And to that point, you mentioned kind of being tough on yourself and tough on ourselves and everything that you're doing. What I'm trying to say is that for me, when I put my all into something, and I put a lot of energy and work into this show, not only just on a weekly basis, but behind the scenes, I put a lot into it. Something, and when you guys have put a lot into it, something on the back end is going to hurt a little bit. What are you giving up?
Yeah,
I'm giving all the time. I'm making a sacrifice and putting a lot of time into something here. What is it? It's important to step back and think about, what am I taking away time from now? Is it being a better father? Is it being, business and something in business that I've been less involved in? Is that hurting the business? Like, you only have so much. It's not like having another child and the love could continue to grow, right? Like, it's time and energy, and we're human beings. So I've been putting a lot of time into this podcast. Where is my time gone from? Where did I take it from? It's important. This is something important to think about for everybody.
Well, I think the point being is that when you function at a high level, you have to have those kind of conversations with yourself. You have to be very real and honest about your margins and about your mental state and about the emotional energy and all that kind of stuff. And, to that end, like, you say yes to some things and you say no to other things. And we said yes to this, you know what I mean? And here we are, kind of reaping the rewards of that. Not financial rewards, but just the rewards of friendship, the rewards of relationship, the rewards of connection and all this kind of stuff. And so that's where, you have to constantly, at least for me, have to analyze, because I'm sure like you guys, you get asked to do a lot of stuff. Hey, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And you say no a lot of times to a lot of things. And you kind of focus in on the things that bring you joy and that you feel like you can pour into and add value to. And it's hard behind the screen sometimes because you're out here doing this stuff. You're like, does anybody freaking care? Like, does anybody, like, what are we doing? Is this just for my ego? Is this just for my own benefit? Like, do I need to feel like I'm a part of something or whatever? But then you have this feedback and response from people who are like, man, really joined the podcast. Really enjoyed that episode where you guys were, and you're like, okay, we're planting seeds, things are happening, and it's good. But I love what you said there, Kern. Everything in your life you have to question is like, what's the cost here? What is the cost? The real cost, because there's a real cost to everything we do. Yep.
100%.
All right. Favorite moments. So highlight moment. There's a moment that just goes boom like this. And I'll be honest, that last 10, 12 minutes, that was a good moment. But looking back over 43 episodes, what do you guys?
My favorite, I know where my favorite moment is.
Okay.
My favorite moment, and this is going to be very specific. This is not an episode in general, but I remember when this episode was. But my favorite moment was when we had Orem on, and he called Spencer Jones Joey Gallo, because I've never laughed so hard during this show. When you have that, just like that deep laugh that just cannot stop, uncontrollable laugh. Like, I had to mute my mic because I couldn't stop laughing. And every time I look at Gary, I laugh during that episode. Dude, there's been times I've been laying in bed and I think about that moment and I laugh
again.
And I just laugh. It's just like, because I picture Gary's face just going like that. I know it's very specific, but that was my favorite moment because it brings joy, like, to me, thinking about having that good laugh.
Fair enough. Bubba?
Man, it's really hard to choose one, man. I know there's some obvious ones out there. Obviously, the Mike Trout moment and being able to just talk baseball with Mike Trout was a pinch myself moment, really just talking hitting in baseball because I'm so passionate about hitting in general. And so to be able to kind of have that conversation was surreal. But I'll be honest with you, just in general, it's what drives me. But I think there's been some moments early on, specifically when we started getting this momentum. And Ham, you and I talked about the All-Star break, and Kern, you as well. Like, there was just a lot of pinch yourself moments to say, this thing that we had that was a dream, people actually are enjoying listening to. They're actually enjoying this. We're having fun. And I think, again, I think to myself, like, the batteries were full charge when you start. I was going to go back. I want to listen to episode 1. I was starting when we were talking about going through all 44 episodes. I want to go back and listen to them all again in my spare time and listen to one. But I remember getting on episode 1 and we just ham and egged it, and that's kind of what we've done today. We came in with like a game plan today of maybe a couple of things we're going to talk about. But when we ham and egg it, I love it. That's when I have the most fun. When we just go and we're just 3 dudes having fun, when I feel like we feel the pressure of what other people are saying, I feel like we perform our worst. And so from my standpoint, I've enjoyed every single second of it, really, guys. I mean, 2 great people. I'm not just saying that for the camera. 2 great friends, 2 great individuals. And I've loved every second of it.
So I think back on this thing and, again, a lot of moments, a lot of low hanging fruit. But the thing that hit me as you're talking, Bubba, Man, something that I'm super appreciative of is how welcoming you guys have been toward Matthew, little Matt, my oldest son. And like legitimately want to get emotional right now just because you guys have invested in him, and not been easy on him, and not just catered to him because he's a kid. You've actually engaged him and challenged him and then allowed him the opportunity to be involved in card deals, allowed him the opportunity to be on this show from time to time. And that means a lot to me. And there was a moment it happened twice, actually. It was really odd, but it's ingrained in my mind. We had just gotten finished interviewing Mike Mahan at the Cards HQ headquarters or whatever. And you guys were in the studio still talking to Mike. And I had stepped outside to check on the boys. And Mike walks outside and he looked at little Matt and he basically, I can't remember, one of his people were there and he looked at little Matt and he's like, "How old are you?" And little Matt's like 15 and he goes, "Damn it." He's like, "I got to wait 3 years to hire you." And I was kind of like, "Oh, that was kind of fun and cool, right?" Dude, we were at the National and Mahan's standing there and we were like, "What's up, Mike?" And he goes, "Oh, hey, come here. This is a reporter from the Washington Post. You need to interview these guys about the card hobby." So this Washington Post reporter is interviewing us, and then Ruben steps over and is listening to little Matt talk to this kind of guy. And all of a sudden, Ruben, straight up, he's like, "Why the does this kid not work for us?" And Mahan's like, "I'm telling you." And so I say that to you guys to say, like, that's the thing I think that stands out the most for me is it's an opportunity for me to invite my son into something. And you guys have supported that. And who knows where it'll go. But it has been really cool to see him have that experience and exposure. And this show has brought an entirely new level of that. So that's my favorite moment.
Before we wrap up, can we talk about George Springer?
Bombs.
Poor managing decision. And I'm not even just saying hindsight is 2020. It is, but at the time, it was bring Munoz in.
In the playoffs, the teams, and you've seen it year after year, if you've got to go and take your number one starter and he pitched the day before and you're in the moment to go to the World Series, you do it.
Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
You do what you do to win the game. And I think they just felt like they were in cruise control, man. I think he got stuck in the moment. I think they had it under wraps. I really do. I mean, it's the only explanation. There really is no explanation.
That said, do you guys think the Jays compete at all with the Dodgers?
Yes.
Yeah. Team of destiny. I said it from the get-go. You could see the energy in that stadium, the energy of those players. You got one arrogant bunch in LA that thinks it's theirs, and you got another one that just freaking wants
Hungry.
it.
I like the Jays.
Go Jays, baby.
Yes.
It's one of those things where I don't have a dog in the fight. I just kind of watch and I like good moments and good games.
Look, I don't either. I just dislike the Dodgers.
Yeah. I told somebody the other day they should play the Empire music from Star Wars whenever they take the field. The bah, 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 bah. That's what they should walk out to because they are the Empire.
I hope it's a competitive World Series. I think it will be, but I hope I'm right.
I think you'll get a lot of international attention, being that you got Toronto, being that you got LA, being that you got Shohei, Vladdy. Like I think that'll be good for the hobby. That'll be good for the sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that'll be really, really solid. Well, gentlemen, we're coming up on our time here. A really good episode today. Like I said, a really good opportunity for us to kind of reflect. For all our listeners, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I would love to hear from you guys. What do you think we've done well? What do you think we could improve upon? And certainly, what are your favorite moments from season 1, if you will, of the Sports Card CEO? We're looking forward to diving in. Season 2 and getting a little bit, like Gary said, more involved in some of the day-to-day and the ham and egg. But you boys have any final thoughts before we wrap today?
I've got one last thing to say, and it's about little Matt. I wanted to say it before we moved on. The kids like to say the word glaze these days. Okay, so I'm not glazing little Matt here with what I'm going to say, and I mean every bit of it. The dude is a prodigy at what he's doing in cards. I mean, he works. His work ethic is what makes him a prodigy. He's smart, but his work ethic is unmatched, and how hard the kid works on it. He studies it. And again, these are lessons that go on for anything you want to do. And I preach this to my kids every day. If you have a dream and you want to be good at something, don't let anybody tell you no, and don't ever stop driving yourself. And little Matt is proof in the pudding to that. So any of his buddies that are listening at school, the dude is not just getting glazed on the show. He's the real deal. And I'm proud of what he's done. And I see visions of myself 20 something years ago when I started a business at 18 years old. But the reality is he's better than I was. So an incredibly bright young man. So you're lucky to have such a good son.
I appreciate
I concur.
Yeah, I appreciate you boys. Well, listen, man, all kinds of fun. I can't wait until we can figure out a way to get together again. I'm looking forward to the day. I've been at the farm with Bubba, but you know where I've never been? I've never been in the city with Kern.
Me neither.
That's what I'm saying.
Come on.
That's what I'm saying.
Up.
We need to
Come on up.
we need to make it happen. Well, everybody,
Make it happen.
thank you so much for listening to another episode of Sports Card CEO. We appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week. Peace.